March 8th, 2014. Kuala, Malaysia. Malaysia? 25 minutes into the flight or 25 minutes until?
Delivery Malaysia 370, good morning.
What's good, VS? Thanks for the follow, man. Welcome to the stream.
At Kuala Lumpur International Airport,
Just messing around doing some
Boeing
reacts. I just finished up a horror
777
game and almost
is
like
preparing
peed
for
myself,
departure.
man.
Malaysian
What's
370,
good?
request level. 370, we are ready, requesting flight level 350 to Beijing.
Just reacted to some videos
Airlines
that
Flight
one of my other followers was
370
asking me to
is
react
a
to. He was
daily
like, "These are super
passenger
good."
flight between Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia and Beijing, China.
370, 32 right.
This one's Flight 370 or something like that.
42 minutes past midnight, Flight 370 is given clearance to depart. On board are Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, First Officer
You seen these
Farid
before?
Abdul Hamid, 10 cabin crew members, and 227 passengers.
Number control, Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370, Lumpur radar, good morning. Climb flight level 250. Morning, level 250, Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370, climb flight level 3.
I could never be a pilot. I don't know how they remember half the crap that they do. Have you seen all those control panels with like all the buttons and crap that they have just laid out in front of them? I know that they use autopilot for the most part, but like some of that crap is insane.
50. Level 350, Malaysian.
Oh, sweet, nice. You do videos and editing?
370.
Less than an hour into the flight, the
That's
plane
dope.
is cruising over the South China Sea at an altitude of 35,000 feet. The night sky is clear, and the weather is calm.
How long have you been doing that for?
Flight 370 is then instructed to signal air traffic control in Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, as it is about to enter Vietnamese airspace. The flight controller in Kuala Lumpur says goodnight, with no sign that anything should be amiss.
Oh yeah, I don't do it professionally.
370,
I do get paid on it like that. That's dope.
Malaysian 370.
So we got her name for it.
370,
Yeah, later.
maintaining level 350.
A year or two.
Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Oh, that's sweet. Saying goodnight.
1 minute and 43 seconds later, the aircraft suddenly vanish from radar screens at Kuala Lumpur, Ho Chi Minh, and Bangkok. This form of positional tracking depends on a signal being emitted by one of two transponders aboard a plane, and so its disappearance would suggest both transponders cease to function, or the
What?
system was manually deactivated by someone on board. All subsequent
They do
attempts
get paid well. What do you think happened? Like, if both things turned off, there's two of them. There's a spare one, so it means both co-pilots and pilots got turned off for them to not be tracked. Like, you think it got hijacked or something? I don't know. Or like, you think the pilots like hijacked or took over the plane and went somewhere else they weren't supposed to?
attempts to contact and ascertain the whereabouts of Flight 370 are unsuccessful. The aircraft has seemingly vanished without a trace. After missing its scheduled time of arrival in
Yeah, but it's free
Beijing some
traveling.
4 hours later, Flight 370 is officially declared missing. And in the wake of that announcement,
Definitely.
the most expensive search effort
And sitting in the same
aviation
spot for so
history
long? Oh
is
my
about
lord.
to commence.
Vanishing of Flight 370.
The search was initially concentrated around the location of the flight's disappearance between the South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand. The search area was soon expanded, however, after the
What would you do if your plane crashed in the middle of the ocean? Like not like crash like blew up, but like let's say you like landed in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, if you post your stuff down, I said I'd look at it. Yeah, definitely. Just drop the name of it or something. I'll give you like an honest opinion on it. Do some reviews. I love anime edit stuff. I'd be watching that like all the time. You just pray to God. Well, like what if you have like a raft or something, right? Like they have those slides and they have the raft, right? So let's say, would you leave the plane and stay or like would you stay there and wait for somebody else to come get you? Like would you take it into your own hands or would you like fuck that, I'm just staying here. Like I've seen videos of people where they crash and they have they're like the they pull them and they're like the inflatable whatever crap it is, and then like they sit there and they like float on the seats. Like underneath the seats, they have flotation devices. My biggest fear is of water. Can't do deep bodies of water. I couldn't even go in a pool if you can't see the bottom of it because I get so scared that there's like a fish or something swimming in between your legs. It's bad. No, I don't know what I would do. If I crashed in a plane, I'd probably just give up. Like, I'm not swimming that far.
The
That's
Malaysian
scary.
military disclosed additional information. Unlike
Yeah,
the
yeah.
radar system
I think it
employed
depends on
by
how
air
close.
traffic control,
I think it depends on how close you are to shore. To be totally honest, like I think it's more like if I'm like right there, like I can see the shore and I could probably swim there. I'd probably take like one of the inflatable rafts, like takes like 4 other people with me, and then go up there and then like see if I can get into the boat. But if I was like in the middle of nowhere, I didn't know where I was. It was freezing cold water. There's like sharks in there and stuff. I'm probably staying near the plane or trying to keep my float near the plane, see if they'll come get me. Because I ain't no way I'm going to make it to shore from there. I'm dying of starvation or like dehydration before that happens. We'll see what happens with
long-range
this.
military radar does not rely on
wonder if they ever
transponders but
found the
use
plane.
reflectors
I don't think
to
they
track
have.
the position of aerial targets. A review of the data collected by the Malaysian military revealed that moments after contact with Flight 370 was lost, the aircraft had deviated
Yeah, but like,
from its schedule.
do you think the plane, like, doesn't it have a like they were talking about? There's 2 signal pieces, right? That like send it out. So do you think that it's better to stay by the plane or to just sail off somewhere, right? Like maybe if you have some flare guns or something, but even then, I don't think flare guns are as useful as people say they are. Because you shoot that thing in the air, and then it's gone. It's done. You've used it. Like, so if someone didn't see it, you're screwed. You have to, like, time it right.
Scheduled flight path with a subtle turn to the right, followed by a prolonged turn to the left. The aircraft had then flown back towards and across the Malaysian peninsula before turning right near the island of Penang. It maintained this northwesterly heading until it escaped the radar's coverage. Over the next few days, the Strait of Malacca, the Andaman Sea, and the Bay of Bengal was scoured by a multinational fleet of aircraft and vessels, but there was no trace of Flight 370.
They scanned that whole area.
Investigators began to analyze the aircraft's satellite
I think it got
communication
hijacked.
records. Like all modern airliners, Flight 370 was equipped with a satellite communications terminal, or SATCOM, to send and receive transmissions to and from the ground. Prior to departure, the SATCOM terminal had logged on to the
Don't want to think
satellite
about this stuff,
network
to be honest.
and established a connection
I mean,
with a
like,
ground station
but what if you get stuck in that
Perth,
situation, right? Like,
Australia.
you got to figure it
That
out.
station then maintained a detailed
coulda
record
happened.
of all the incoming and outgoing traffic between it and Flight 370. This is what it contained. Prior to the flight's disappearance over the South China Sea, everything appeared to be working as intended. Then, at some point during this portion of the flight, the SATCOM link was severed. For whatever reason, the terminal ceased to respond. But 3 minutes after the flight vanished over the Andaman Sea, the terminal requested to log back onto the network. The SATCOM link was successfully re-established and was not disrupted again until nearly 6 hours later, when the flight is presumed to have crashed due to fuel exhaustion.
But, like, where would they go? Like, did it get hijacked, or was it, like, the pilot signal? Well, like, what would be the reason for it to disappear? Like, it got caught in a storm or something? They don't have no status from it that whole night? Think about that stuff from time to time, not necessarily a plane. I mean, yeah, like, I'd be thinking, not necessarily a plane crash, but, like, different situations that you get stuck in, right? Like, if you think about it, right, like, what is your first thought when you think of you getting into a car crash? Like, what do you think you do first? You get out of the car, right? Like, you've thought about that. Or if you ever imagine yourself, like, at school, like, in school, I used to sit there and I'd be like, what would I do if, like, a school shooter walked in right now? Like, what's my first game of plan? I used to, like, map things out. I'm going to go here. I'm going to, like, barricade the door with some desks, hop out the window, bolt across the street. Like, you have to think about those things because those are real things that happen to people. And the people who don't think about it aren't going to be prepared. But you'll survive because you thought about it, right? You got to think about it. It's scary, but I'd rather think about it than not think about it, right? Like, what would you do in a school situation, right? Like, you've ever been sitting in class and you're like, hey, let me get up out of here. What would be the fastest route to get out? Do you know where your exits are at the building? Like, when I'm at work, my first thought is, like, if something happens, how fast can I get out? Like, what's the closest fire exit or so on? Or, like, can I use this as a shield? Like, I was thinking about it the other day when I was stuck in water. Like, I was like, could I hide behind this to dodge some bullets? I think it's interesting. Like stuff like this is interesting as hell, where it just disappears because we have so much, like we have so many ways to like scan through things. Like the ocean, we can dig through it with submarines and so on. Like the ocean's deep, but we normally have like territory land through all of it, like oil rigs and stuff. And no one saw the plane. Like it just disappeared. I don't know, man.
During these
Seems a little
final
suspicious to me.
hours, 2 attempts were made to contact the plane via satellite telephone. Both calls were acknowledged by the SATCOM terminal and would have been routed to the cockpit. Yet, they went unanswered. The terminal had also responded to 5 automatic status requests. In short, if the ground station had not heard from the aircraft in over an hour, it would transmit a signal to confirm the terminal was still online. While these transmissions did not contain any information about the flight's position, investigators were able to measure the distance between the satellite and the aircraft at the time of
How much
each
does that help?
transmission, based on how long it took those transmissions to be sent
like,
and received.
Recon where it's at.
This generated 7 rings of possible locations, from which 7 of these
Hold on.
transmissions
Has flight been found? First prosecutors confirmed that the wing part found on La Reunion Island was from Malaysia Airlight Flight MH37. Almost 7-foot long wing piece was found in the French overseas territory. Was flown to the aviation experts for testing. No, despite... Dude, so they haven't even found the body to this day. They've only found the wing. No. Well, at least we know that the people on it are probably
are
dead.
thought to have
They would have said
originated.
something by now.
By taking fuel consumption, speed, and other factors into account,
Oh, sweet.
flight
Hold on.
path analysis
I like the visuals on it. Yeah.
indicated the most probable origin of the
This
final
dude does a lot
transmission
of stuff like
to
this,
be
but one of my
somewhere
followers
along
was like,
this
"Ayo,
arc in the
react to some
southern
of his videos.
Indian
'Cause he's got
Ocean."
good stuff."
The search effort shifted accordingly, and as the region
He's got
fell
like
within the
5-hour-long
jurisdiction of
videos. How long is this
Australia,
one?
the
Like 20
Australian
minutes, yeah.
government took charge of the operation. Over the next few weeks, the search area was progressively refined to account for oceanic drift as well as improved estimations of the flight path. But this part of the southern Indian Ocean is so remote it
Was
took
there something
6
on the
days
plane that they
just
need
to
to
get
know?
there. A new fleet of aircraft and vessels gradually covered more than
matters. Watch the vid-
4.5
the visuals
million
happening, yeah.
square kilometers of ocean.
Yeah, I noticed since I started editing my stuff, I've noticed that like I'll steal things from other people's videos and things, or like I like almost use it as like a self-critique thing.
Flight 370
it's a good
was
thing.
nowhere to be found.
Introduce
Been sufficiently forceful, it was possible the resulting sound had been recorded by underwater listening devices known as
Yeah.
hydrophones. This possibility was investigated, and 4 hydroacoustic monitoring stations had recorded something.
Yeah, it sounds like someone crashed into the water. Or like no,
While
it
the
sounds more like
timing
a
and
wave hitting
direction of the
something.
sound were reasonably consistent with the final satellite transmission, the estimated origin was not. The sound was in all likelihood caused by nothing more than geological activity. Flight 370 was also equipped with 2 underwater locator beacons which had a battery life of some 40 days, and as the deadline approached in early April, signals with a pulse and frequency somewhat similar to the signal emitted by the beacons were detected at depths of up to 3,000 meters.
How do they have all of this gear and they still can't find it? Like I feel like somebody had to purposefully have gone out of their way to make the plane disappear. Like something was on the plane or someone was on that plane to make it disappear. I
An
don't think it would just do it
autonomous
on its own.
submersible then spent weeks scanning
Like
the
what are the
seafloor where
chances that
signals
all
had
of
been
their stuff
detected,
just fails?
but no wreckage was ever found. And nothing would be found until more than 16 months later, when a discovery was made on the opposite side of the Indian Ocean. On the 29th of July 2015, a group of people were cleaning up a beach in Reunion,
Oh,
a
this is what
small
we just
island
looked
to
up,
the east of
where the
Madagascar,
plane was.
when they stumbled upon this
Yeah.
2-meter-long metallic object
And it had stuff
covered in
growing on
barnacles.
it.
Aviation
underwater.
experts quickly identified the object as a section of an aircraft wing known as a flaperon. Upon closer inspection, internal markings including dates and serial numbers conclusively ascertained the flaperon belonged to Flight 370. Even though Reunion Island is some 4,000 kilometers west of the search area, and more than a year had gone by since the flight disappeared, the location was consistent with simulations of debris dispersal patterns. There
So
was
it's
now
still- it could
tangible
still be
evidence
somewhere
that
over
Flight
there.
370 had crashed somewhere in the Indian Ocean.
Mm.
The discovery of the flaperon prompted
what
numerous
made it
searches
crash?
along beaches and shorelines of southeastern Africa, and at least 31 additional items of interest have since been recovered and examined.
So it wasn't
Some
just
of
the
these
plane
items
wing.
include a section of the outboard flap from the right wing. A piece of
Yo, dead ass. What if they were flying the plane and some shit hit them? Or like, what if it was like a storm and it fucking like whoosh, under the wing and they just got fucked and just started spiraling with the one wing? Nah, dude. Mm-mm. That gives me the jitters. I can't think about that.
cowling from one of the two engines, a partial door from the nose landing gear, a section
But,
of
like,
the
where's the
vertical
body?
stabilizer,
It's like all the wings.
and a mangled
I think they
casing
ran into
from one
someone.
of the embedded headrest monitors. 18 of these items were identified as either likely, highly likely, or almost certain to have originated from Flight 370, whereas only 3 could be confirmed. The remaining 11 could not be identified. There were no traces of an explosion found on
Yeah,
any of the
drop your
debris
YouTube.
tested, nor was
I
there
can look
any
at 'em.
evidence of a fire except for 3 small burn marks on one of the unidentifiable items. The search for debris was further aided by Earth observation satellites. Analyses of satellite imagery
You just
from
post it
March
in the
of
chat, it's fine.
2014 uncovered a
not like you're
number of
advertising
images
to
which
much of
appear to
anybody.
feature man-made objects floating on or just below the surface in the southern Indian Ocean. However, the images were not nearly sharp enough to resolve any identifiable markings, and multiple searches notwithstanding, this debris was never recovered. A satellite image taken mere hours after the final transmission also captured what appeared to be a contrail some distance away from the search area.
Nah, you're good. I
A
asked
later
for it, so you're
analysis,
fine.
however, concluded it was most
It's not like I have
likely
any
a
rules against
shadow
it anyway.
from a somewhat linear cloud formation.
No, I'd love to see what you got, man.
The underwater portion of the search continued for months and eventually years before it was finally suspended in early 2017.
You're fine.
By which point some 120,000 square kilometers of
The best way to
seabed
get
had
followers
been
is
scrutinized.
to get people to
The
see your
search effort
stuff,
was then
man, so
resumed by an
talking
American
about it's
salvage
fine.
company
As long as you
known
have the
as
streamer's
Ocean
permission, of
Infinity,
course, like, that's
but
what
after more than
matters.
a year of searching, they too came up empty-handed. Unless the final resting
Yeah, don't
place
post
of
a
Flight
link, just put the
370
name.
can be located, it may be
Oh, hold on. Well, I can still see it.
impossible to determine
Yeah,
exactly
I'll pull one of them up. Hold up. You glitched it. Well, like how
why.
like that's good, like that's cool, right? But like if somebody wants to find you, what do you tell them, you know? Like yeah, my name is Yeah, it's super dope. Yeah. Wait, what was your name again? Oh, Oh, okay. And they just never search it up because they have nothing to look you up for. You should create a channel name.
it crashed.
Like otherwise, how are people gonna like
Nevertheless,
identify you?
there have been no shortage of theories.
Like you have an app, but like people are
On the
gonna think,
day
is
of
this
the
even the right channel?
disappearance, 2 of the passengers raised suspicion as they had boarded the flight with stolen passports, which immediately prompted concerns of a hijacking.
Like I said, a
But
hijacking.
investigators were unable to link the 2 men to any terrorist organizations, and soon determined they had traveled under false identities because they were seeking asylum, not due to any nefarious intent. Similar suspicions were raised when one of the passengers were identified as a flight engineer, who might have possessed the necessary expertise to take control of a Boeing 777. Apart from the 239 persons on board, Flight 370 carried nearly 11 metric tons of cargo. Among the items listed on the flight manifest was a shipment of lithium-ion batteries, which led some to suspect a fire might have broken out mid-flight. For instance, the crash of UPS Airlines Flight 6 in
Fire?
September of
Did any of
2010
the pieces have like
was the
markings on
result
it
of
for
a
fire?
fire that was ignited by a pallet of lithium-ion batteries. Another potential source of ignition would be an electrical malfunction. The crash of Swiss Air Flight 111 in September of 1998 is thought to have been caused by a fire within the electrical wiring above the cockpit. The fire damaged and disabled multiple avionic systems.
You ever think about the fact that we're literally flying around in like giant metal artificial birds? Like, how does it make any sense that a rock can't float? Once on a Oh, you've traveled on a plane before, you didn't like it? I used to go all the time. I used to go like once a year for, I like family trips and stuff. We'd go like once a year. It can be pretty scary, especially like turbulence and stuff. It depends on where you're going. Yeah, landings normally would get people. The landing, the turbulence, like when you're going in or leaving, like you'll feel like the rumbling, like the plane will start shaking. Yeah, that's just how it is. I mean, I have family members who are like deathly scared of it. It's because it can be scary. Like, you're not wrong. Most people are totally afraid of it, but you're actually safer in a plane than you are in a car. You're more likely to get hurt inside of a car than you are on a plane. So, but no, it's a common. It's not. It's a very common thing for people to be afraid of being in planes and stuff. Like, I can't do boats. Like I said, I hate water. So if I get stuck in a boat, I'm gonna freak out. I'm gonna have a panic attack. Like, you could offer me a free cruise for a week, and I wouldn't go because I can't do boats. Like, I hate small boats, speed boats, fishing boats. None of it. Can't do it. We'll never. But everything. Okay, yeah. Like back to what I was saying. You're distracting me. Like rocks don't float. Metal floats. Hollow metal floats. But a metal bar doesn't float. How does that make any sense? A giant metal piece of metal, but the inside is hollow, floats and flies. But because of what we manipulate on the metal, that's what makes it float or fly. What the? It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it.
Including the
Stresses me out,
transponders
dude.
and SATCOM. In the case of Flight 370, the sudden loss of communication and subsequent deviation from its scheduled flight
I think they got
path
hijacked.
might
I
have
would
been
just
a
say they got
direct
hijacked.
response to a fire. The two pilots may have turned back towards Malaysia to attempt an emergency landing at the nearest suitable airport.
If they don't tell
But
us like the
no such
reasoning or
attempt
what they
was ever
think it is
made.
at the end, I'm saying
Instead,
it's hijacked.
Flight 370 kept going and remained aloft for another 6 hours. Some have theorized the crew might have been incapacitated by a sudden or gradual loss of cabin pressure. For instance, when Helios Airways Flight 522 failed to pressurize in August of 2005, the pilots quickly fell unconscious. Yet the aircraft continued to fly on autopilot for more than 2 hours until it ran out of fuel. Airline pilots are of course trained for such an event. In the event of cabin depressurization, an automatic system is designed to deploy oxygen masks
Those scare
to
me.
give the pilots enough time to perform an
Knowing those
emergency
are in the
descent
plane means
to a more
that's how it can happen.
breathable
That scares me.
altitude. The data recorded by the Malaysian military radar does indeed contain altitude information, but it is highly inconsistent. In fact, the Boeing 777 is incapable of performing the extreme altitude fluctuations recorded. At one point, the aircraft exceeded its maximum operating altitude by more than 15,000 feet before making a 50,000 feet nosedive.
How did it
in
go
less than a
higher
minute.
and then go down?
Attempts to
So it, like,
recreate
went
these maneuvers on a
above
flight
what it's supposed to
simulator
be able to
were
go and then just took a
unsuccessful,
nosedive.
and thus the data was deemed inaccurate and unreliable.
What
If
the fuck?
Flight 370 did lose cabin pressure at 35,000 feet, and the pilots were incapacitated before descending to a more oxygenated altitude, it might explain why the aircraft remained aloft for as long as it did. What is a bit more difficult to explain, however, are these alterations in heading. Flight simulations have established the aircraft must have been under manual control during the initial left turn, as the bank angle or
Did you know that you're exposed to so much radiation when flying at high altitudes? Like from the sun? Yeah, probably. I mean, because it's kind of like beaming down right at you. I could see that.
inclination of that turn was beyond the limits of the autopilot. Subsequent turns, however, could have been either manual or automatic.
I believe it.
But for the autopilot to have made these course corrections, someone with the requisite knowledge...
Did you know that the safety amount for like your phone, like to where is my phone at? Like right here. Like the safety amount for your phone, like it has a label on the inside, like for your instructions and stuff. There's like a safety meter of how close this should be to your skin or to your face before like the radiation will affect you. It's like 0.5 millimeters. So every time you talk on the phone like this, you're giving yourself radiation. And I know that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but they're legally obligated to tell you on the inside of the phone, like how far that distance is. And I think that's nuts. Yeah, for real. That's a real thing. I found out about it a while ago, like, because you can go into your own phone settings. They're all different depending on how powerful the phone is. But I thought it was nuts. No, but it's a real thing. I hear about that stuff all the time. Or like how there's radiation in bananas. If you eat enough bananas, you'll die. That's nuts, dude.
must have programmed it to do so.
I
The
just
only
eventually
other
believe that I'll get
alternative
cancer no
is that
matter
the
what. So
aircraft was
it's
in
fine.
fact under manual control.
Cancer. I mean, I feel like everything you do in life is gonna end up giving you cancer. There's nothing you can do about it. Like,
In late June
unless
of
your body's
2014,
just, like,
several news
different.
outlets reported
I think
that the
you're
special
like everybody has some type of
investigation
cancer.
had
Like,
identified the
ooh,
captain.
that's another thing that I learned about when I was like reading up on that. Did you know that your body is constantly getting cancer and it's fighting it off like over and over? Yeah, but like cancer is just a cell that is reproducing, but your white blood cells attack it. So when the cancer reproduces, if it gets too strong or like it's too much for your body to handle, your white blood cells can't take it on. Like it can't kill it, right? And that's when it becomes like a tumor or a mass, or it becomes noticeable, or you become sick. Like that's why there's bone cancer or there's blood cancer. There's a whole bunch of different kinds, right? It's because it can grow anywhere. It just stacks and builds, like cells multiply. So the cancer itself is just multiplying and getting bigger in a specific spot. So if it's like blood or bones, it's just a bone cell or a blood cell or something corrupting itself. I learned that from an anime because I was watching, it's on Netflix, it's called How the Body Works or like Blood Cell Works or something. And it teaches you that because the white blood cells in it fight a cancer. And he doesn't, like, the cancer is like a nice character, but he eventually becomes so evil because he's getting so big. And they're like, dude, we get it, but you need to go. Like, you're killing our body. It's nuts. It's such a good anime. But that's where I learned that from.
In a Flight 370 as a prime
Gotta finish this
suspect.
video.
A search
I
of the
keep stopping
captain's
it, I'm
home
sorry.
would uncovered a flight simulator which supposedly contained a suspicious route which
Yeah, cells at work. Cells at work. You got it.
ended in the southern Indian Ocean. At the time, there was no official acknowledgement that such a route had been
dude, the body's
recovered,
tough, man.
and a
There's some
lengthy
badass
public
facts.
report issued by the Malaysian government in 2015 made no mention of such a discovery. Then, in 2016, confidential documents pertaining to a forensic examination conducted by the Royal Malaysia Police in May of 2014 was leaked to the media. These documents made it clear that such a route had not only been recovered, but thoroughly examined. Soon thereafter, the Malaysian government confirmed the existence of this simulated flight path, and this is what it looks like. It should come as no surprise that many regard this as damning evidence of premeditation. But according to
Like I said, it got
investigators, is
hijacked,
not
dude.
quite
There's
so
no other
evident.
option. Like,
The data recovered consists
I don't know
of
why it
7
nosedived though. Like, you think they took
coordinates,
control of
two
it
in
and the
Kuala
pilots were
Lumpur,
like trying to struggle back, so it was like
2 in the
going
Strait
up
of
and
Malacca,
down.
1 in the Bay of Bengal, and 2 in the southern Indian Ocean. The data was reconstructed from a file that had been automatically generated and saved by the simulation software a month before the incident. However, it's not clear whether the coordinates originate from the same flight session. In other words, it might not be correct to simply trace a continuous line between these 7 coordinates, as they could be from separate sessions. The forensic examination by the Royal Malaysia Police simply concluded no activity captured conclusively indicate any kind of premeditated act pertaining to the incident of
But the dudes literally
MH370.
went onto the plane with fake passports. So clearly there was some bad intention, or they were doing something illegal.
Even so, the similarities between the simulated route and the presumed route of Flight 370 directly influenced the search operation. Australian investigators considered the possibility of someone deliberately extending the range of the flight by gliding the aircraft after fuel exhaustion. If so, the plane could have traveled an additional 200 kilometers. Alternatively, the range could have been reduced by a controlled ditching prior to fuel exhaustion. While ultimately deemed unlikely, these 2 scenarios did affect the search effort. If the captain steered Flight 370 off course with the intention of crashing in a remote part of the southern Indian Ocean, his motive is an even greater mystery. Zahari Ahmad Shah
was
was
the pilot,
53
right?
and married with 3 children. He had more than 18,000 hours of flight experience and a spotless track record. Investigators found no evidence of financial issues, and his monthly expenses before the disappearance indicated nothing unusual. He had no
So
history of mental
they're pretty much
illness,
saying, yeah, the
nor
pilot
had he
wasn't
displayed
suicidal.
any recent changes in lifestyle or behavior. He was raised on the island
don't
of
think if he
Penang,
had kids,
which
he
has
wasn't
led
killing
some to
himself.
speculate the flight's second turn to the
At least I don't
southwest of
believe so.
Penang was the captain getting a final view of his hometown. Some believe a hijacking could have been politically motivated, as Zahari was an avid supporter of a democratic opposition leader who was sentenced to 5 years in prison mere hours before Flight 370 took off. Others point
But if
to
they
unconfirmed
hijacked it,
reports of
it either have
marital
to be for like a legal reason or because they were trying to like push some type of like motive, right? Like it was either supposed to mean something, like they're trying to send a message, or it means that they were doing it for like some type of illegal reasons. But what would be the point of taking a plane?
But this is contradicted by the official
I also don't understand a lot of
investigation and
hijackers
disputed
because
by
half the
family
time,
men.
like, hijacking in 2025 is crazy. This was back in 20 something, like 2014. This wasn't in 2025. This was a long time ago. That's why it's so crazy that it's still missing.
The only real inconsistency noted by the final report is that the captain failed to repeat the assigned radio frequency during the last verbal communication.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
It would have been standard procedure to repeat the assigned frequency as the captain had correctly done a few minutes prior.
370, contact lampu radar 1326, good night.
Alright, 1326 Malaysian 370.
Whether this omission is indicative of anything but a mistake is anyone's best guess.
It's like they think they
By all
hijacked it
accounts,
afterwards, or he
Captain
just didn't do it on
Zahari was an
purpose to try to
affable
let them know.
and well-respected pilot who was passionate about aviation, as evident by the photos and videos he shared on social media.
Hi everyone, this is a YouTube video that I made.
That's cool.
As a
It's sad that he's gone.
service after learning.
The co-pilot was found to be even less conspicuous. Farik Abdul Hamid was only 27 and due to marry a fellow pilot.
Dang.
He had nearly 3,000 hours of flight experience, although only 39 hours in this type of aircraft. Much like Zahari, Farik had no
That's so
financial,
sad, he's only
mental, or
27.
interpersonal issues of note.
That's pretty young for
nor
a
was
pilot.
there
That's like
any
a young
evidence of conflict
pilot.
between the two of them. Some questioned the
Because they have to have a
plausibility
certain
of a
amount of hours before
pilot
they can even
instigated
fly.
hijacking
I think it's like 2,000 hours or something before you can fly like a commercial airline.
due to the apparent lack of interference by the other pilot. Well, when Ethiopian Airlines Flight 702 was hijacked by the co-pilot in February of 2014, he did so by merely waiting for the captain to take a bathroom break before locking the cockpit door behind him. The co-pilot was then free to divert the Italy-bound flight to Switzerland to
What?
seek asylum.
Yo, the co-pilot he locked the actual pilot in the bathroom. He locked him in there so he could go seek asylum somewhere else, like to fly the plane there. He deterred the whole thing and double-crossed his own homie just to take the plane there. Wow. Betrayal. I'd feel a
The
certain way
only
if that happened to me.
noteworthy piece of evidence in
Like, what
regards
did
to
they
the
do with the
co-pilot of
pilot
Flight
when he got there? Did
370
he just go back, or
is
was
his
he
phone.
stuck?
You see, when the confidential documents were
Co-pilot
leaked, they also
kidnapped him.
confirmed another long-circulated rumor, namely that a cell phone tower had briefly established a connection with an iPhone 5S belonging to the co-pilot as Flight 370 approached the island of Penang. According to investigators, it was not a phone call as has been widely reported by the media, but merely an automatic location signal.
So his phone
Why
connected.
this information was
before
omitted from public
something
reports,
happened.
we may never know.
Was that
Great
it?
news.
No.
Now
God, I hate ads, dude. You can install an ad blocker. I just don't. I haven't done it. You got 3 minutes left.
On the one hand, the simulated flight path seems suspicious. On the other, it is difficult to cast any substantial doubt on either of the two pilots' character. It is equally difficult to deny a hijacking is consistent with the available evidence. Then again, we're missing some quite major and literal pieces of evidence. The final report issued by the Malaysian government in 2018 could not attribute the
gotta
loss
get
of
that ad blocker,
communication
dude.
nor diversion
I have
of
premium
Flight
on my normal
370
like personal
to a
account,
malfunction.
but I don't on my
Instead,
YouTube account.
it is
for this
believed
one, for the
that
channel.
someone manually manipulated the aircraft and its systems.
I'll get an ad blocker.
For instance,
a new
investigators
PC,
believe
so I don't have anything
SATCOM
on
was
it.
manually disabled by a sudden and prolonged interruption of power. Then, once power was restored, the terminal simply rebooted. Likewise, the alterations in heading are believed to be the result of manual inputs. With that being said, the uncertainty
Everything
of
about
these
this
findings
says
are
hijacking.
repeatedly emphasized due to the limited evidence available, and the report
You
does
can't tell
never
me otherwise,
explicitly state the flight was
But I'll-
hijacked. In fact, no real conclusion is reached. Both the Malaysian and Australian government agree that Flight 370 crashed in the southern Indian Ocean, but that the cause is indeterminable without the wreckage.
Probably like at the bottom of
location
the
of
ocean
which has
somewhere.
managed to elude some of the foremost aviation experts in the world, as well as an impressive arsenal of cutting-edge technology for more than half a decade. Authors, aviation experts, and independent investigators have all chimed in to offer their own thoughts and theories as to the nature of the crash and the location of the wreckage. Some believe there was no crash, but that the aircraft was shot down by an American naval base in the middle of the Indian Ocean. The satellite transmissions were then supposedly forged as part of a massive cover-up. Others believe the aircraft turned
That's too
right towards
sophisticated
India
for them
and traveled as far north as Kazakhstan, completely undetected. Debris was then supposedly planted along shorelines of southeastern Africa as part of a massive cover-up. Another
That's
theory
conspiracy
suggests the
theorist shit,
aircraft
though.
was remotely hijacked and controlled by someone on the ground. While Boeing and other companies have experimented with technology that would allow for an aircraft to be remotely controlled, no commercial airliner is known to be outfitted with such a system. On the less conspiratorial side, the assumption that Flight 370 flew in a straight line and at a constant speed after turning left towards the southern Indian Ocean might simply be incorrect. In early 2018, a
But they said
French
it headed
team
the
of
other way.
independent investigators proposed
Dude,
an
I'm so
alternate
intrigued
flight
by this.
path,
Like, when the hell
whereby an
happened?
attempted landing on Christmas Island led to a crash site much further north than the region identified by the official investigation. While a surface search of this area was conducted about a week after the disappearance, the underwater phase never reached this far north. As of the making of this video, the search operation has been suspended,
so they're not
but
looking
there
anymore.
have been talks of potentially resuming the search.
Oh my
For now,
god.
it seems, the vanishing of Flight
So it's still not found. Well, sincerely, this dude could be talking about the vanishing of my socks, and I would be wholeheartedly listening. Yeah, dude, that was a good video. He does it like, he keeps it intense. I'm giving him a like on that one. That's good. All right. Since